Back with another edition of the show. We are coming back from a break. Last week we didn't shoot our weekly episode, but we are back nonetheless. We are a man less this week, but we have added another very interesting gentleman on the set, as we are going to introduce him. Patrick Sentongo decided to go somewhere very far from Kampala to, I don't know, he will tell us when he comes back, but we hope it is good news. As usual, guys, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, starting with, on my far left,
Isaac Sejombwe from the Daily Monitor.
Nathan Atluk from the Observer and the Tapos.
Yeah, Andrew Kagwa Maiga, Daily Monitor.
Okay, guys, happy to have you back. Today we have...
You need to introduce yourself.
Okay. I want to assume people know me already, but okay. I'm giving myself importance. Okay, Regan Sempija, as usual. Today we have a guest, a very influential figure.
A goat.
Okay.
Hey!
Okay. Isaac has called him the goat.
I didn't hear that.
We say the goat. A very influential guy in the arts. Someone who has been there, someone who has talked about these things. He sees them differently sometimes, but it is a very interesting angle, whatever he brings whenever he comes. So we have James Proper on the show.
What do you mean I say things differently?
Sometimes your views are very unconventional, which is probably why we have you on the show today.
Okay.
Depending on our topic today. So I want you to introduce yourself to our viewers today.
Hi everyone, my name is James Proper. I'm an entertainment lover. I love digital music. I love computing. I love social media. I love my wife and I love my children. I work at Spotify as an artist and label partnerships manager for Christian and gospel music for Sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah.
Guys, that CV is enough for you to know that we have the right guy.
That he's a goat.
Yes.
Because I love my wife. That makes me a goat.
Okay, guys. Today, like how we do it usually, we start off with some of the things that have shaped the industry. I'm talking about the arts industry. So a few highlights that have shaped conversations and topics. But on a sad note, the country lost a young businessman called Rajiv Ruparelia, and in the arts we have his footprint somewhere somehow. So it is just prudent that we talk about the late Rajiv. He was involved in a very tragic accident on the Entebbe Express Highway, I think on Monday this week, or I think over the weekend, which was really, really tragic. Just in a second from each one of you guys, what do you remember? What is your fondest memory, most fond memory about Rajiv? Isaac, if I can start with you.
A few minutes ago, Andrew said, everyone who is talking about Rajiv says, I. But I'm not going to be any different from the other guys because I work closely with Rajiv. He was my boss at Club Sway. I worked at Sway for like a year. But he was so generous. He was the kind of guy who made things move even though he was not around. Like, he started the club when he was young. It is arguably said he started it at 17 years. During the time when Club Rouge, Club Silk, and Genoa were at their peak, he also decided to open up a club at Kampala Road, opposite post office. This club, even though it didn't last more than 5 years, it lasted 3 years, but it gave a running for the other clubs that were around Kampala. Because of the theme nights. Some of the theme nights that are being used today started from Club Sway. We are talking about theme nights like Doctors and Nurses, Rock Night, Campus Night. They all originated from Club Sway. He used to invest a lot of money in the marketing department because he knew what marketing was. I used to work in the marketing department. along with guys like MC Katz, Darius Mugisha. So even though we did not live with him that long, we did not work that much with him, but I think he contributed a lot to the music industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, quite interesting. Nathan, anything from the late? About the late?
I won't say that I like most people say. One, reading on depending on the stories that have been coming up on the written about him, I would say he's one person who loved the lifestyle. He was a person who was outgoing. He gave hand to different people here and there. We saw him helping out a fresh kid, giving him scholarship, and then a kid getting up to where he is because of his hand, and also him giving hand in the entertainment industry for comedians. Because I remember a few years back, before lockdown, COVID, he gave Brighton Neck a chance to host comedy at a rock bar opposite Sheraton. So I would say, yeah, he's a person who loved art and lifestyle, and may his soul rest in peace.
Okay. JP?
I think Rajiv is one of those young people that we looked at, especially us who are almost his age. He's that young man who gave you something to aspire for, you know? I think he's the richest kid amongst our generation.
Yeah.
So, and he influenced a lot when it comes to nightlife. When you guys start talking about things, now I had even forgotten that Rock Bar is also there. Feels like these guys own the whole of you. Like, because I was telling my friends that on Ni Road, if you drive on Ni Road for 10 kilometers, you'll find a property that belongs to the Pioneer Group. But he was very humble.
Yeah.
He was very humble. That rich, but very, very humble. He loved the music industry. I mean, that's for sure. You could see him in bars.
Buying tables at concerts.
Yeah, buying tables at concerts. He supported the music industry. So that is something that we are going to miss. We are going to miss that. And then I think he also helped quite a few people build careers, people that we know. He helped a few people build careers straight from the club. Others just becoming his friend, they became princes. You know, so he was that influential. But for me, what strikes me the most is how simple and how humble he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we could just borrow a leaf of that, so that when you guys become billionaires, because I just saw sponsors here, when you guys become billionaires, please be that humble. Yeah, but I mean, rest in peace, right?
Yeah. Andrew, anything?
I think I could also just talk about the club, because at that time I wasn't going into clubs.
You were young.
Yes.
I think I was just in a different
I was
world.
just about to ask how old he is, because I was also like 16 when that club opened.
Like, when we have him on the panel, it's because he knows some of the things that we do.
I couldn't really go to the clubs, but one thing I still remember is, you know, there is a place that opens, even if you do not really, if you're not into such events, you get to know about it. There was a time Sway was getting every influential person coming to Kampala, because I think Akon was there for like an after party. Then other artists that used to come to Uganda, like they would everyone would somehow find a way of getting into that club. So we got to know about it, and personally, I entered that club once when I went for an audition, because I think Caritas announced that she was looking for a co-host or something like that. And I was one of those people that came up for the audition, and it was my very first time and only time in Sway. But then I think later I got to understand more of Rajiv when he was running Sanyo FM and had to hire Salvador during the lockdown after they had fired like most of the employees at Sanyo. And then that bursary to Fresh Kid and Felista, I think for me, that one is it for me.
Yeah.
Just to add on to, I just remembered something. Do you know the secrets that Katz keeps talking about? The Bobby Wine Secrets.
They are at that club.
Clubs way.
Outside in the parking. Yeah.
Guys, should we go there?
So if at least 2 people here know those secrets, are these secrets?
I actually expected Bobby. I expected something more from Bobby Wine. But his, what do they call it? The message he put up on social media.
His eulogy.
His eulogy was like, he didn't know this guy that much. But from the secrets and everything.
I don't think they are secrets anymore. It looks like there's more than 2 people on the set that know this.
So they were in the parking
Yes.
in a car or
So it seems you know the secrets.
We shall engage
I
Isaac.
have a feeling Isaac knows what it is.
Isaac knows a lot more than we expect him to know. Anyway, guys, briefly, very briefly, and still I'm going to take a round on the panel. I think last week we unofficially marked the first quarter of the industry. I'm saying unofficially because our industry is not yet there where we segment quarters and all that.
a quarter is a quarter.
Well, I'm very sure so many musicians don't even know what a quarter means. But anyway, what would you make of the first quarter, as it were, Andrew?
African.
In Uganda here, let's just keep it here for time.
In Uganda, like these things become very tight because we are very laid. Is it laid back or just lazy as an industry?
Relaxed.
We're just very relaxed. Because like I was reading, because at the moment everyone is trying to do quotas of their different industries. And I was looking at the quota of like Afrobeats in Nigeria, and they're talking about albums, like which one is the best album in this quarter. And then I remembered you cannot even talk about like an album in Uganda in this first quarter.
Do we have any? No.
Like, I don't know, do we have, because I don't know any.
So we have the one that is coming up by end of this month.
We are going to have a hint on that in the next slide. Yeah.
So at the moment in Uganda, it's just a couple of songs, because we've also had very many songs that came and lasted like a few weeks and kind of fizzled out. I feel like we've had more showbiz than the actual music coming out
fights
for this quarter. I hope the second quarter is different, but for this quarter we've had a lot of showbiz. Like the memorable song that has probably been around is like a Change.
Yeah.
I can't really think of another one. I can't even think of one artist that I can say that they're performing or they're pushing the needle. So
JP, from where you sit, how have we fared so far as an industry?
We are still a very domestic industry, domestic consumption. There hasn't been really a big shift or anything in that sense. So it's been the same old. I haven't seen any collaborations, cross-border collaborations that make sense. So I think it's been a quiet quarter, and in my perspective, I also feel like we are becoming a catalog industry whereby the older artists are actually they're selling out concerts, yet the newer artists cannot even stage a concert. And that is good, but also dangerous.
yeah.
Because why are people rushing for the older music? Why is Apas finding his sweet spot 10 years after he started singing? So that shows that there is something wrong with the content that we are releasing currently. Otherwise, I know some music companies have started to take particular interest in Uganda. I know someone from Universal has been in the country. I think they left today, meeting a few artists. So that is a good step in the right direction. In terms of where we sit with numbers, I don't think there has been anything exceptional. I don't know how many views does the Change have on YouTube. Because when we look at last year, we had that Dista song, Uzambe, 10 million streams on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this year we got a song that has that momentum to do that well on streaming. But otherwise, I feel like the artists are starting to get there. We see a bit more pitches now. coming in from Ugandan artists. People are still using do-it-yourself approaches in a way of getting their music up, and I think that is also dangerous because we lack that touch of people that can actually help us get this music into good spaces. Another thing that I would like to touch on comes with synchronization and publishing. Synchronization in terms of our music making it to Hollywood or Netflix movies. We've not had any, at least as far as I know. I don't know if you guys know, but we've not had any. And the reason why I'm now particularly trying to speak about publishing, because I realized we are getting 10 million streams on YouTube for the biggest song. Averagely, all good songs will do 5 to 6 million. When you convert that into money, it is probably about $20,000 for 10 million streams. But you can easily make $20,000 or $50,000 with just one song in a movie, right? So, yeah, like I don't see us really getting into the real business with the world. Yeah.
All right. Isaac, before I bring in Nathan on the next topic, the year started off with the marathon of concerts. We started off with Ragadi. We started off with.
Don't say marathon of concerts.
We had.
Did you really have to start with Ragadi?
Well, we had Ragadi, we had Navagre, we had Epas. We had quite a number of them. The Atsena, the 7
But you see, when you think about all those concerts,
We had Geoffrey Ruchai in
were
February.
in about
Two
2 or 3
Two
months.
venues. Yes,
Just,
two
uh,
venues.
Yes.
The recent concluded one of Sophie.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
How, Isaac, in your opinion, how did we start off the year in terms of the concerts? Was there anything new or more of the same?
Do we have something? Do we deserve anything new?
Well,
Okay,
Epas's concert was
yes,
you know,
something
praised for
praised.
setting new trends and all that.
It did, but I think this year, I think Epas's concert is going to the parameters he set at his concert. No one is going to set them
Really?
for the rest of the year. I'm so sure about that.
Bebe has a concert this year.
No, he pushed it
To next year?
Yeah, to next
Okay.
year.
Why?
Elections.
He's putting all his efforts in his album that he's dropping later this month. So, because he made that announcement of pushing the concert at his recently concluded performance at Skies. That's when he said he's going to.
I thought Comedy Store.
No.
Continue.
When was that?
That's what he said. He's pushing it to
To
concentrate
next
on
year.
the album.
No, he didn't say that, but I feel.
The $1 million album.
Yes.
Guys,
No,
yes,
1 billion. Like
$1 million.
Let's not preempt that because
3.8 billion.
Yes.
actually, from that very point, guys, as we go into our
Wait.
topic,
Guys,
I'm
do
coming
songs
there.
for $50. The one is-
We are coming there. Before we go into our topic of the week, guys, Bebe Cool, as usual, he sort of made you know, people talk about him again for reasons. His album. But before that, there is something he mentioned, and it's going to feed into our topic of the week, where he claimed that he has powers over radio owners and people who have the DJs and people who run the music in Uganda. How was that just the typical Bebe Cool who is just the boss of the industry, the OG of the industry, the godfather, or did it have any water in it, Andrew?
it's two way. One, it could have been him bluffing, but again, it's very possible.
Some truth in it.
It has some truth in it. Like I think one of the reasons, because we've had this conversation a lot of times where we're like how the radios were starting and they called that press conference with very young journalists and they were like, we are the future. Your bosses belong to someone else, but let's go up together. And it just shows you that even by the time they were coming up, they knew the media was somehow compromised. So they decided to build their own media to come up with it. So what Bebe says has some bit of truth in it. Though at the level of the boss, I think that's kind of an overkill. One, you might ask your boss not to play, say, I'll give an example of Ozambe. And then Ozambe becomes a problem. And people are calling into your radio station and asking for the song.
Yeah.
You will have to think about your friendship or making this radio work. So somehow it's over importance on his side, but it has some truth in it.
Okay.
I feel like the way we know Bebe Cool, the way he calls himself Big Size, I feel like maybe it was, I would say, maybe it was a banter, or you wanted the presence to be talked about. But for him saying that all the years back then with the chameleons, with the who, the likes, him banning all these certain songs of musicians from not playing on different stations, I feel like it wasn't uncalled for. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. JP, I want us to talk about his album. He mentioned that it's coming, I think on 30th May.
Yeah, 30th this May.
And he has always hinted on how expensive the album is.
That's a Friday.
Yes. And, you know, news or rumors have been making rounds that the album cost him around $1 billion shillings.
$1 million.
I saw one of people who have worked on the album, Bushington, talking about $1 billion shillings.
Bushington is the executive
Is it
producer
of that album.
Okay, so the
And he
audios.
said that he was given that much to put the album together. My question is, are we there yet? And does it pay off? In our
I
industry?
mean,
Is it actually $1 billion shillings from what you've seen or listened to so far?
of course, people will always blow figures. And then when URA comes to knocking at their door, that is when they come out crying.
They're coiling.
That actually, I was just doing my showbiz thing. So I don't think it has cost $1 billion shillings. But if you're going to talk about recording in Nigeria or mastering in London, probably a song will cost you about $5,000 probably to record, and then another 5,000 or 10,000. That is if you're looking for the top guys. Another 10,000. So probably 15,000 for each song. Let's say they're about 10 songs. Of course, the more the songs the person has to work on, the lower the budget becomes. So I don't think it has cost $1 billion shillings.
Are we putting in the video perspective into the whole album?
Is he shooting a video for
No,
each of the songs?
Because it's still about the audio, so that's why I want to think the other 2.8 billion goes into the videos. The 1 billion that you're talking about goes into the audio production. So I want to think it didn't cost that much, but the cost is significant. I've listened to some of the songs, but I understand they've had to actually change some of those songs because the sound has shifted. There is more alte now. Like in Nigeria, they are producing more alte music, alternative Afrobeats, which is more of the Thames kind of sound. Then also Amapiano is also seeming to die out and house is coming in. And then EDM is also growing. So the last conversation I had with Bushington, they had to redo some of the songs. So the cost has been significant, but it is not 1 billion. And yes, we are there now. My only concern is we are wasting a lot of time pushing a ton. We are pushing a ton instead of being more efficient and pushing something that can move. Instead of pushing the younger generation, we are instead trying to push a man that is almost 50 years old. You know, and we all know the average age of people that sing is usually about between 18 and 23 to make it. Once when you're older, it's harder to break into those markets. So it is good that someone is actually investing this much. Let's see how it goes. But I would have preferred if he had invested that same amount in 3 or 4 new artists, younger talents. Because with the wisdom that he has now, with the connections you guys have been talking about, I can call your boss, I can do this, I can do this. Basically what he's saying is, I have social capital with all these people. So with all that social capital, if it was instead invested into younger talent, I think it would make more sense. Instead of investing it into himself, I feel like, for example, right now, I don't think he can stay away for 2 months, doing media tours across Africa. In between those media tours, he also has Alpha TA to push. He has Biata. He has the younger ones that need to go to school. He has the Bazukuru.
He has Museveni too.
He has Museveni to do campaigns for. So I feel like, yes, we now see people that have potential to invest in a lot, but I feel it is a misplaced investment.
Wow. Guys, we said JP has unconventional views, which is already manifesting on the show.
But we wish them luck for the 30th of May.
Okay, guys, we have today, and we have already hinted on it. Today, we want to talk about something called gatekeeping. This is not a new word in Uganda's music industry. We want to delve a little bit deeper into it. We want to know, for a long time we have realized that there's things that have come up in the industry where people have talked about some of the music that is being produced. Is that really, does it make the mark? Does it make the cut? What is Uganda's sound to start with? Do we have an identity of sound? What should we sound like? What should be the ideal sound that Uganda should have? What is the standard? And so many times, a few people have been, put under the spotlight. We've seen media, we've seen producers, the musicians themselves. But I want to start with you, Isaac. When someone talks about gatekeeping, first of all, what do we mean? What are we gatekeeping? And what is that thing that is called gatekeeping in Ugandan music?
Gatekeeping is, in simple terms, the schools we went to, there was a perimeter wall. There is a gate. That you go through when you're entering the school, that you use to get out when you're moving out of the school. So gatekeeping is like keeping the quality of the station, or like it's akasengejja
Yeah.
okitegeera nti ebintu ebimu mulina obisengejja obutayitawo. So when I'm talking about radio stations, people who should be gatekeepers are the music schedulers. Because when you bring a song to a radio station or a TV station, someone has to look at it and determine whether it meets the standard of the station. That is what I understand by gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add something on that, because you see at times there's a way artists want to talk about gatekeeping as a bad thing. But gatekeeping is...
You want to bastardize it in some sort of...
But gatekeeping is not really bad. It's about having an identity where you could say, for example, all students can be good. When you're a school and you have a gate, you're letting in on your students.
Yes.
You will not be Buganda Road, and then you let in students that are wearing Nakasero uniforms. Like you want in Buganda Road. Yeah, there's the confusion. So gatekeeping can at times just be, we are a radio station that's playing Ugandan contemporary music. We are not going to play dancehall. It's not bad, but it's not us. Yeah,
That
so
is
at
not us,
times that's like an essential.
And I want to pick you up from that very point, Andrew. There was a time where we actually had that kind of, standard operating procedure, if I can call it something like that. For radio stations, for example, we had strict music schedulers who dictated what is played on that radio station. When we had Capital FM in its formative years, Sanyu FM, they had a standard. They had a specific set of music that they used to play. CBS was strict on local music, local Ugandan music, or what some Ugandans have called or termed band music. They were playing that kind of music, and you could not listen to the same on Sanyu or Capital. Just like you would not listen to a song that was played on Sanyu, playing on Simba or CBS.
Yeah.
But today you have just mentioned here that you would listen to Hozambe on Sanyu or Capital FM because of you know, that's what the fans want to listen to.
Influence.
Influence. Along the way, what happened? Why did we lose that, you know, that standard on some of these? If we could start with radio stations now.
With radio stations, with radio stations, it partly started. It might have started with the bus corridor, with the bus corridor group.
Jose Chameleon and the
Jose Chameleon and Bebe Cool. One, like I usually see people say Ugandan music industry will never have another Jose Chameleon, Bebe Cool and Baby Wine. And at times I want to tell them, I wish we never have. Like, because I wish we never had the three.
You're being harsh.
No, there's a reason why JP and Andrew are sitting together today, guys.
Where would they be working if you didn't have them?
I would understand when you say, I wish we never have. But saying, I wish we never had.
One, I wish we never had all of them in the same circle. Like, if we had each one of them coming separately and probably hustling their own way. Because one, the mess those guys created around the industry and which we are still dealing with at the moment is going to be very, very hard to sort out, probably even in 10 years from today. One, why I say they happened and then the schedules went away. One, they brought the payola. Like, they came very aggressive and they knew things that most of the people in Uganda at that time did not know. And that's when they started getting presenters, DJs in their pockets. Of course, what happens when you pay someone who works on Sanyo to play your song and they know your song on any ordinary day wouldn't be in, but probably they are supposed to play my chorus because Sanyo was more of urban Uganda. They would play Juliana, a bit of Steve Jean, my chorus, Irene, but they wouldn't play Chameleon. But then Chameleon pays you and Juliana is not giving you anything. You're going to do anything in your powers to get that song on air. And before you know, it will take a very short time and someone at Capital will be doing the same. And in a very short time frame, you will have radios technically sounding the same. And we kind of managed to get there. At the moment, all our radio stations are sounding the same. And it's very funny that we're having this conversation today. When I was coming today, like I was stopped by a lady who said she sees me on TV and she was complaining about a radio station. It was taken off air and then it came back. And she was complaining that she thought when it comes back it was going to be different. But she feels like it's
more of the same.
It's more of the same.
But whoever did that, what do they call it? Recording the jingles and stuff. That guy needs Chibo.
and her complaint was that, and then somewhere in the conversation she says, you see one of Uganda buli chintu chifanagana. She said she can wake up early in the morning and she knows what each and every TV is showing at what time. So yeah, we went there, we managed to get to that place where all radios are doing the same thing. And our Kasengeja Kabulida.
To add on what Andrew was saying, I feel like even as the media, we are partly to be blamed. Because believe you me, for instance, when you go to Radio 1, they have their style of music.
And I think they have maintained
They have maintained it. Because you won't find them playing this, how can, I don't want to use a big word to
use it, please.
No, okay, this music that is going on. But I guarantee you, right now, there's this so Akucho. She has that her song is going on. But at the end of the year, trust me, I won't be surprised when when her song is on
The playlist, the countdowns.
Yes. So I feel like the radio stations also have lost it because we don't have the music cedulars. You know, because back then you could be on radio and you know that, you know, there's this music that is trending, but trust me, it won't be playing.
Because it doesn't make the
Yeah.
mark for that station.
Music schedulers became obsolete when radio presenters and TV presenters started becoming celebrities and big-time celebrities.
Because if I'm on radio or TV, I know you have given me something automatic. Your thing has to be going on.
JP, I want to come to you now. So far we have exerted a lot of pressure on the media, the radio stations, and but where does this stem from to begin with? Shouldn't we first talk about who actually makes the music that people get to listen to on radio? Shouldn't it start with the composers of this music, the producers, the labels that we have now, the musicians they sign, the writers they pay to write the music? Isn't that where the problem starts from in terms of what is the standard that should be Ugandan music?
That's where the problem starts. Fortunately enough, I was able to join radio about 15 years ago. And I saw my big brothers, Jacob, and the rest. I saw how things were happening. And I think partly, music schedulers are supposed to be like editors. Then a problem came where presenters started to schedule music for their own shows. That's where the payola thing also comes in now, Because if you give me a bad song, you as the music scheduler or whatever, if you give me a bad song in my show, I'll be like, bro, I'll even take you to the bosses and say, the music this guy is giving me is not giving. So now almost 60% of the radio shows, the presenters now started to have power to just put their own music. Like someone gives you 100K, and then you'll find a slot for them because radio see a judge like and media people, unfortunately, they're not remunerated well enough. So it means they have to look for other sources of income. So it goes back to what you're saying, the people that do the music. The people that do the music, some music will always be bad. For example, if people are releasing music to streaming, we'll sit down and listen and then choose out the songs and where they should sit or which playlist they should go to. Basically, even the people that are going to listen to those songs, they expect a certain mood, a certain vibe, but above all, a certain quality, But here we are where people are just using their roles and also the artists using the money they have made to pay their way. And then nobody cares about the final consumer anymore. Before the boss knows that there is actually a problem, the radio has already collapsed. And we have seen so many radio stations collapse. The rebrandings and all that, sometimes it's out of the struggle, but partly in an hour probably they play about 20 songs. Like probably much of the time on most of the radio stations it is the music. So why are these stations actually failing? It is because we created space for bad music. So some creators will always do bad music wherever you go, even the countries where we are benchmarking from, Nigeria, South Africa. We also listen to some of the music they produce and you're like, bro, this is work. So these problems are interconnected. Then another problem that I see or I feel is the liberty of people consuming music from other spaces now. Spaces like YouTube. They liberalize what actually people like. If people want Uncle Chumi,
They'll listen to.
You will stay with your Wagambi radio FM 90. You will stay with your FM 90. But people want Uncle Chumi because of these liberal systems that the consumers now actually tell us what they want to hear, what they want to see. So if a song becomes big on YouTube, you have to pick it up. If it is golden,
But
we even get to compromise.
I understand where you're coming from, but you see, this is not the first time where songs have come from out to kind of become a big deal. But it still goes back to do our media houses actually have a DNA?
You lose the DNA when things become liberal. You know, these things of Zendi Muganda, like the way we are raised is not how we are raising our kids. Our kids are more liberal now, they have more freedom. I'll not speak for the rest, but a few days ago, my daughter came with to give me something. And when she handed it over to me, I was like, yo, why isn't she kneeling? But this is the liberalism that has come with the development, you know? So even in the music space, the moment things became liberal, you lose your DNA and identity. And when you try to keep the DNA and identity, then you're not in the Synovate report. You're not part of the top 10. And then the Bazini will be like, oh, we have the airwaves. And even the business will go to those that have the ears.
Yes.
So you keep the DNA, you lose the money. Case is yours.
Much as I get you, like I remember, and to be specific, you remember when this song came out, Master Blaster
Mboko.
Mboko.
2006 or 6.
And I remember, I think it was CBS that, I don't know about other radios, but CBS was very strict about we are not playing that song. And I think CBS still did not play Mike Yazigidi.
They did not even play Muriranwa, if I'm not mistaken, because of the pronunciation.
Oh,
But they can do that because of where they sit.
That's what I was going to ask. How come they actually get away with it?
They are representing the DNA of the radio is not music. They actually play less music than talk on CBS.
So it's more like for them they represent their culture more.
I don't think music is in the DNA of CBS, especially 88.
Yes, true.
For 89, it is music. But for 88, which is the biggest station, for 88, for me, it's the radio I listen to in my car. But you see, there is a lot of talk.
Yeah,
About
and less
culture
music.
norms.
They'll do Bilango for 1 hour. Then they'll do a talk show for 2 hours. Then they'll do Kalisoliso, like, and in between they're playing catalog content.
Yeah.
You get catalog music, basically. So that, I don't think it is the right station for a music conversation, because there are radio stations where their DNA is actually music. Galaxy FM, their DNA is music. KFM Capital, their DNA is music. You know, I don't think CBS is that example. And also, because of where they sit and what they represent, they have to have all these, they have to have that gate. Ezowemo, don't bring. You get. Because it is owned by an institution that represents culture and all these values. You know, remember Dengama and Yomana Tachaf Kamira, like, they have to conserve. It's basically a conservative radio station.
Okay, Isaac, I want us to point the guns to the fans now, because they seem to be part of the problem. Epas, a while ago, on his socials, I think it was on one of his TikTok lives, he said that fans in Uganda, or probably elsewhere in the world, don't actually understand music. Fans are just fans, you know. So have we given in when it comes to, have we given into fans when it comes to producing, you know, work music out there, music that is not, you know, have we given into the pressure?
Yes,
of
we
the
have.
fans?
Why?
And isn't that, shouldn't we be worried that now the fans are controlling what gets to be played out there?
I would say yes, we have given in. Because first, who are you singing to?
The fans.
The fans. And then, you know, I always bring up this, what's his name? Lil Puzzle.
Yeah.
Lil Puzzle went on a particular station and said, I composed a song about money. up to now, my song has not more than 100 views. I invested in a lot of money in that song. I don't know how true it is, but he went ahead and mentioned Michael Uma as one of the
yes, he
worked on the song, and he paid him handsomely. But the song is not more than 100 views. And he said before he released Enkudi, he said, I'm going to go to studio, release a song that is going to become a problem in Uganda. Trust me, 2 weeks later,
Enkudi was a
he
problem.
released the Enkudi. It became a what?
A
A
problem.
problem. You understand? Gravity Mutuju.
Yeah.
When it was coming up.
You know, these artists, we blame them so much, but at the end of the day, you have to pity them also.
Yeah.
You have to feel some, because they invest in a lot of money in these songs. So they say never lose a winning formula. Imagine a song like Enkodi getting like 4 million views.
Vakulujja 10,000.
10,000. Okitegeera, eh? Gravity najja n'oluyimba lwe ebyebijanjaalo. N'alukolamu ne concert.
Yenda gamba mama.
N'akola ne concert n'afuna akaseera. Nga bw'omugamba ddeyo ku nnono akuba ennyimba z'amagezi. Okitegeera nti tubanenya nnyo naye we have to be a bit lenient to them. I wanted to comment about something Propa and Kagwa said about gatekeeping. I know a radio station, should I mention the name? Okay, KFM. KFM used to have a boss called Beyanga.
Joseph.
Joseph
He's no longer there.
He's no longer
Oh,
there.
okay.
Joseph Beyanga was one of, he was a sound engineer at some point. He knew what radio station is,
Would be,
the values of a radio station. But I know several artists who used to come to him for advice. How should our song sound? How good is it? Where should we change? From one artist, they became 5, they became 10. So they did not see any value of taking their music to a music scheduler. They would just call Beyanga. Nafulumiza akayimba akapya. Ojjukira advice gye wampa? Akayimba kakoze ki? Kafulumye. They used to take the song to Beyanga himself.
Not the scheduler.
Just imagine taking a song to a boss of 2 radio stations, not just one. That song is going to play on those radio stations.
Yeah.
Kati awo mulimu gwa music schedule oba okoze eki? Oba ogusse. Okitegeera. Because ne music schedule ne wanaagambwa akayimba tekajja mu nnono zaffe.
Order from above.
Order from what? From above. Kiri bebekulu kyeyakoze eki?
Kyeyayogerako.
Kyeyayogerako. Okitegeera. Then that same radio station has a music scheduler who is a DJ.
Yeah.
Okitegeera. So kati limit ye ey'okugaana oluyimba eriwa ng'oluyimba aluzanye mu kibaala abantu ne bakuba
emikono ne gigenda waggulu.
Okitegeera. So era bw'anajja zajja taking into consideration bw'anaaba ziteeka mu system. Okitegeera. Last year's what was oluyimba lwa Uzambi was the biggest song in Uganda, but it did not play on what? On KFM. Nembuuza music scheduler, this song muluzanya nangamba no, si nnono zaffe. Nemuga okay. Usually bampita okuliiramuko ku countdown y'omwaka. So ngenda odulaba. Nemuga so nakubuuza ekibuuzo nenkubuuza oba oluyimba luno muluzanya. Nongaate muluzanya. What has changed? Okuluteekako ki? Countdown.
Pressure 24/7.
He could not explain. Okitegeera. Nti ebintu ebimu bibeerawo and it's beyond them. Okitegeera. Just imagine a radio station omuntu akubye song abantu 10 bakubye basanga oluyimba. Jukira waliwo ba listeners abalala. Okitegeera. Ndiwe nasa nakubira Ozambi oyo n'avaako n'omulala n'ajja n'avaako n'omulala n'ajja. You will be forced to play that song.
Yeah.
Okitegeera. Ng'ojja kiyita one off, but already system of ogiyiye. Okitegeera. It takes one song, one apple to spoil other apples. So this is beyond all of us. My fans be basalawo kuba betuliwo okukola ki okuweereza. You get my point.
I get you.
It comes from the other side. Njagala kubanyumizaako kano akantu. I remember when I joined Dembe FM in 2011. Waliwo olutalo. Bakulu bange Jacob Burasa ne Yasindijje nga balwana ne Good Life. Nga bwe batusanga mu club. Tubeera bakubwa. Sekyanyama nko lwakuba nali mwana muto. But there was intention not to play their music. But the songs became so big that yes, we know Lutalo nabo, but you have to play the music because it is so big. So, and I think those are the times when now people started having smartphones. You get. So now, the music that actually gets to radio comes from the other side. It comes from the fans. Yeah? See, right now you can even receive a song and you're like, kanindeko. Kati nze gye nkola waliwo akayimba bakayita Favor, guy bamuyita Lawrence Oyo. You see a song nga kajja and you wait for the data to back it. So you wait for the fans to pick it up, then you also pick it up. So these situations are driven by consumers. What the consumers want is what you have to give them. And if you try to do those things of simanyi our DNA, simanyi bichi, you'll close shop.
Of course.
You'll close shop.
Jikira kati nimana abayibi bayina kampu zaabwe. Spice Gadgets. Azimba fan base ye, netuuka nga fan base ye kulagira ekyokola gwe DJ nawe radio station ne TV station. So,
but guys, on my list of people we need to blame or put under the spotlight, we have producers. Don't these producers have standards themselves? What is our standard? Or should we just play muyimbi ajane vibe buchi chose nacho tukube tugende maso?
They don't have equipment. They don't have equipment. They don't have the right training. Omanyi usually those are fenaje tukolera from time to time. Wayinza nokuba nti waliwo procedure ntuufu ya talent development. But from time to time you'll see things happening in the workspace, in the newsroom, whereby they're trying to make us better people, right? So for producers, they are 100% independent. People who have tried to invest in studios, or investing, I remember studio ya Ronnie Banton, Surface, Monster Records, you know? Nash Wanda, you guys remember that time?
Yeah.
The moment a producer makes 10 million, they build their own space. You get. But what equipment are you going to get for 10 million, really? So they don't have equipment, they don't have training. That is one. And me, in conversations like this, what I suggest is, before we even blame the producers, we blame the ministry that takes us. By blaming the ministry, we are blaming the government. That for some of these things to get better, what would it cost us to buy 1,000 licenses as a Logic Pro and give them to the different producers? When we were at the National Theatre, I remember there was a studio called UNCC Records. There used to be a studio here, like 10 years ago, or a bit more.
It used to be here, I think.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere around this place. UNCC Records? Something like that. I remember I visited it once with Zabafana. So, certain things such as mastering, because anybody can call a beat, but then when it comes to things like mastering, because that is what kills our quality, yeah? Why don't we have spaces where people can get access to real serious equipment to master this music? When it comes to refresher courses and, create about producer, about Chikuye, maybe from where we benchmark from, like, what does it cost really? Like, I don't think we need to blame the producers. They are trying, and the producer is paid 300,000. The artist goes and is charging 5 million per show. The same artist, producer Yakuba Huzambe, the song is called Huzambe, the artist is called Huzambe. Producer Yakuba Huzambe was paid probably Kamwegu nice figure, 5 million, right? No, more than nice figure. Because Saga Musa Wakochi Gamon Bama 5 million. So from the 5 million, Huzambe did 10 million streams on YouTube, and probably another 10 across other platforms. So that's probably a collection of 20 million streams. That's close to $30,000 or $40,000. Yeah? $40,000 vis-a-vis 5 million, which is actually vis-a-vis mitwala ata. You know? So I think the producer is the last person we need to blame. We actually have to fight for them. Their splits need to be given to them. You know, in the beginning, synchronization deals nachi for the movies and stuff. That is the money that would go to the producer. Imagine if a producer got $20,000 from a movie deal, you know, he'll be able to invest back.
Yeah, but JP, another person would ask you, but who invested in people like Alan Okia, people like Michael Uma, the music they have, you know, composed, and
Steve Jeans,
the people like Steve Jean, the music he produced over 20 years ago, they're good enough. They produced some of the very, some very good music, Swang's Avenue. Who invested in them, but they produced very good music.
I would like to disagree with JP.
Yeah.
Not to blame the producers. Because at the end of the day, it is their job. What did the Steve Jeans do? The Benons, like you've been mentioning, what did they do that these guys cannot do? We have a person like Nessim, he'll give you quality work. Never know a producer, someone will come, a song might reach 10 million views. Trust me, producer Yakola Ozambi.
We don't even know
who he is. Ne artist yennyini yali takisuubira nti oluyimba lugenda kufuuka ki lunene nga yelukola ki
yali ajaminga
okitegeera
I think the first version was a freestyle. Then Mudra got the boy into a proper studio, and they did a collab. Yeah.
Nti baproducer nabo balina okwerwanako nga bo kitegeera.
But one truth is we shouldn't be blaming producers.
Why?
Ugandan producers do a lot of work. If you ever listen to a raw version of a Ugandan song,
MTN. The chendi. You know, when I in the studio, that's when I realized that I can't be a producer.
No, but Andrew, you talk about the work they do. They do a lot of work and all that. But shouldn't we see their work from the output they
No,
bring?
let me tell you.
Judge them after they now.
Let me tell you. One person you should be looking at, and a worldwide famous producer, is Kanye. Like Kanye I don't really think Kanye has done a bad beat. But you see, what comes onto that beat after he has done the beat is what either makes or kills the song. Nti beat zona ba producers zebakola omwana wajja n'agissaako Ozambe ne mugamba luyimba lwa Kisiru ekikifuule olw'e Kisiru is not the work of the producer.
It's the words.
It's the words that went on to this thing. Nti ekituufu, you have to remember nti people like Steve Jean, I do not want to use the word lucky, but baakolera mu industry yalina abantu abalina passion when they were doing music. Nti Juliana yali amanyi ekimutwala mu studio. Irene yali amanyi ekimutwala mu studio.
I think they were blessed to have all those people.
Yeah, they were blessed to have all those people. Ate n'ekirala nti engeri gyekyali ekya passion wayinamu nnyo ngambe ne ba planned kids nga yazze kuyimba lwa passion.
Naye kati kagwa okusalamu kekirimi katono. What is the role of a producer? An artist comes. Why should an artist boss a producer? This is his workspace. I highly doubt you would boast around Steve G in the studio. Nebo berani. Ajja kugamba kino kina kikole bwe tuti bwe tuti bwe tuti. Gundi yashogerako sebata. Kitegeera yagamba Steve G twagenda mu studio nganze ninawe njagala okukola ebintu n'akola ki n'agaana ye ng'ayagala ayina
wakola dole y'omwana.
Yes. Ye ng'ayina ekintu kyakola ki kyayagala okukola n'engamba waayo omusajja amanyi kyakola ki kyakola kamuleke.
But you should also remember nti Steve okola dole y'omwana he was flown in.
Ebintu byonna bye tuwogera omwavu simanyira bwe njagala kiteekawo naye kyenjagala okuleeta nti if you're broke you have no right omwavu taba na choice okitegeera. So abantu abalina financial freedom, those are the people that can stand their ground n'agamba no, it will not work like this. You get. But just look around Machindi. What producer bali yala? And it is the artists that have the money. And it is the same artists that are not willing to give them their rights. It is the same artists that are not willing to remunerate them well. Look at the songwriters. One of the biggest managers and how he uses songwriters. He gets the boy, gives him 400k today, 200k next week, 200 the other 200k the other month, you know, like 800,000 to write a song where the artist is going to earn 5 million per show or 8 million per show. You get. So that unfairness in remuneration on the part of mungeri jabasasulam producer and a songwriter. I cannot give you my best if you're not paying me well. I cannot. Even at work, I cannot give you my best if you are not remunerating me well. The companies that pay people better, they have better products. Like, like when a company pays its people well, omutuukako n'omulaba nga kasaati tekakutuseeyo. You get. You can see neweziba hotels. Era hotel gy'otuukako n'olaba nga abantu abali ku front desk bonna batunula bubi. Then you know they are not paid well. Even the work. Omwana cleaning room ajja kujja cleaning erabire n'okuteeramu sabbuuni. Because they are just doing it for tukole tugende. So even the bino etugamba nti oluusi yayimbya bubi. Producer aba akimanyi. Naye manyi when I give you, what else? What happens then? The biggest typical Ugandan song to Veko Joshua Baraka na Chi is City Alos. Biggie Bauer. Is he getting his royalties? Did he get his royalties? How do you expect him to wake up and do a beat that is going to win a Grammy? How?
Okay, Isaac, shouldn't that then be the price that we need to pay if we are to put our industry at a certain level?
Now,
because some of the industries that have made it to where we now can appreciate them and admire what they are doing, one would imagine that at some point they had to pay a price. They had to put in the work. Our producers and all these people we talked about, are they putting in the work that they're supposed to be putting in? Or at some point do they get comfortable and say, you know what, when they say you need to then we go.
Proper ayogeddeko ku kya City Loss. Is the producer getting his royalty? It depends where you are in the studio. The bad thing is that we are always not there when such things are happening. What kind of contract did they have?
That's if they had any.
That is if they had any. Because it would be so unfair. For an artist, as they are 3 million as what they produce, producer then after 5 months, Ohima ne rufuka etabu. Related omuyimbi Grammy. Okitegeera. Producer n'aviiri n'agamba nkulu. Sente ezawakola ki? Njagala sente ki? Sente endala. Forgetting input omuyimbi gyataddemu oluyimba okola ki okutuuka gye lutuuse okitegeera. So what kind of contracts do these producers have with the artists?
The artists don't want to put pen to paper.
Why? Why?
Because bakudiringa n'omuntu omwavu. Keep them poor.
So, okay. Then where do they get the rights? Okudemanding.
Who gets rights?
Ngamba omuyimbi or producer. Mugani kusaininga. Okoledde omuyimbi ki.
And I really this 1 million that he's bringing.
He's asking, then why later do you come
Do you
out
come again?
and cry?
Royalties
No, I don't think it is an issue of them coming later, and I don't think
they're coming later.
I don't think producers. I don't think producers, and particularly because Badena movements is producers association, songwriters association. I've not seen them come out to act. They are quiet.
I think Washington has been vocal.
Washington because he's in retirement. Okitegeera singa naye abadde akyalinga nesimu nga yeetaaga that 2 million. He cannot speak. Nisim Atin, every time I have a conversation with Atin, he knows these things and he tells you openly tebamuwachi splits. You get naye naye talina kyakukola because alina okusasula rent. So an artist are okay with that status quo. Mwogenda mu BMI nachi and you search. Njagala just ogenda searching the president wa federation. Enyimba zo nogenda kulaba nga yeristinzeeko nga producer, nga songwriter, okitegedde. And they know nti sente ezo that 15% that YouTube gyesigaze egenda mu publishing abayiga bamanyi nti balina oziclaimingayo. So they are keeping the producers at ransom intentionally. Intentionally. That is why olaba nti kakati industry ya Uganda omanyi ffe mu Uganda lero abasinga tubadde tuliyala okitegeera kati boveri nojja n'okuba akayimba and from a person who has not even been making 150k a month, you're being booked for 10 million. Okiraba. That's why we are not aspirational anymore. Tetukyalina n'aba artists oyinza okwesanga nga all artists that have come in the last 7 years, tekuli alina motoka eweza 100 billion. You get even things like branding, nichi byonna twabivaako. We are okay with the status quo. Nze kasitamba nga nfunamu kano, I don't care. And because njagala nnyo because ati nagamba some artists are starting to sign, but you cannot force them because you need that 500k. Tuyinza okutunuulira n'essimu ne tulowooza n'essimu is so big, but he understands he's being big is because of a piece achajja mu studio kola. Is because Elijah Kitaka agenda kujja mu studio akole. The moment twateekawo olugezigezi nti ewa n'essimu kuba kati ewa n'essimu yompulira waliyo olugezigezi bwe basibuddewo bakola tebakwetaagawo ku studio. Naye lwateekawo olugezigezi mbu nga tonnayingira studio first sign the split sheets. That will be the end of him.
Naye ate kati still era producer azimbye erinnya lye over time n'abeera wakabi nga n'essimu. Gwe artist you have a lot to lose bw'oba togenze wa n'essimu.
Artist asobola okugenda ewa that boy bali bamuyita bati yali azze nga atandise okubanga n'essimu and he lost bomba. Omanyi ekyagala artist okuddamu ogende wa bomba because yagenda ku microphone n'ayimba, so they feel he cannot give them the same amount of attention yali abawalumi. Oyo n'essimu yayimbakoko alina ne Fefe Busi. You get, but he cannot even risk to step on the mic. This gentleman talked about Kanye West. How many Grammys? 25, 26, 24, whatever. 25 Grammys. Many of them because he's a producer. But he has that free will to even go and sing.
Okay.
You get. Naye artist waffe wano e Uganda, the moment a producer starts n'ateekamu olugezigezi, my friend, they will mute n'essimu, and n'essimu knows it. Ayinza okuba afunyeemu obusente, but sustainability in Uganda If you're not going to make, no one in a cent maker. But Bebe Cool alibadde tebakyakola. Chameleon ali awo akaaba. You get? Because nebenkera ku machana nkuwa 1 billion. In the next 6 months, yeah? Ojja kubeera otandise okuzuukuka ekirongo okugumuka. Nga zigenda ziggwawo. You get? So, abaana bano bali held in captivity by the artists. So byonna tugenda kublaminga tetublaminga media owner ye mu blaminga kimu kusasula bubi bakozi. Okiraba? Oyo kye mu blaminga. Tetublaminga presenter, tetublaminga munnamawulire, tetublaminga ani artists. They are to blame for the failure of the industry to grow. Kati gwe bonsayingira gundi n'oŋŋamba nti producer 50%, songwriter 50%. Nze ngenda n'engitwala ku ewa publisher wange. N'agitwala ku YouTube. Ne bakwata 15% eyasigaddewo. Si ssente nno ziri mu ngalo zo. Oba tulina ne knowledge gap, hey. It is not money nti bazisaze ku ze bagenda okuwa. But it is withheld. Like, I don't know why it's so hard. Wetuwakola gundi ya placement ya Gravity, ya movie. He presented himself as the producer and songwriter and everything. And I was like, okay, cool, sigenda kukola ki kubona abona na bino because era wetunatandika ate BCDE bigenda kufuuka complicated. You see, ngolooza producer yakola oluyimba olwo. Nawulira nti oluyimba lwa Gravity luli mu firimu bw'abanga akimanyi naye abadde alina okufuna share publishing. How do they feel?
Bad.
Tamanyi sente meka ze yafuna.
Naye era still
Bye twogera kati bw'abaani bano tugamba $50,000. So omusajja aleka yafuna $50,000. I know it was much less. It was much less. But you know what made it even much less? Lack of that paperwork. Kwa nabo bamanyi kye badiringa nakyo. And they know maybe in a few weeks someone will come and claim. So they'll give you $5,000.
That in case someone
shows up, you get. So artists, they are gatekeeping their own industry.
Wow. So as we look for gatekeepers, we actually already have people who have, you know, self-appointed themselves as gatekeepers. But guys, as we finish, we are our
Like
time
who?
Our time is spent. Guys, we seem to have, you know, painted a picture of, you know, darkness and, you know, no hope and all that. So, Nathan, I'll start with you. What lies ahead? Should we now be comfortable with what we have and the status quo as it is, like JP has mentioned and all of us here? Should we be comfortable that, okay, now that is what we have, we just need to work with that? But, you know, in hindsight, should we be able to compete with other industries if that is the status quo? We are closing in a few minutes.
If you're to compete with other countries, I feel like there's a lot to be done. But again, like JP has said, the artists themselves have got to keep the industry. Because when you look at a person like, okay, I won't mention the names, but they're not giving the producers what they need to push them outside there. Because an artist will get a song, pay peanuts to the producer, and then it gets to the stage without mentioning giving a credit to the producer, and something that it's affecting them also in one way or the other. I'll give you an example. Bebe Cool, I went to South Africa and did that song "I Love You Every Day." You know, if Bebe Cool is going to perform that song, the producer, I think, Biz Online Steady, knows that the moment he performs this
Michael
song,
Fingers, I think.
yes, my share is coming on. So I feel like that thing needs to be worked upon.
Isaac, JP has has painted artists in such such a very controversial light. If a producer is listening and watching what JP has said, what should they learn from that going forward?
Contracts are so essential in this business. Bebe Cool has a song called African Girl. It wasn't Bebe Cool who said, it was Epas who wrote that song.
Song.
And he said Bebe Cool gave him 10 million It wasn't Bebe Cool who said, it was a pastor right. He said, Bebe Cool gave me 10 million.
100% buyout.
You
So
understand?
the 1 billion album could have
No,
some more
that,
time.
that is on the other album.
Yeah, I'm going to juxtapose this with
Justify,
this.
yes. So then he was even broke. Now he's rich.
You understand? So it is the writer who said, the man gave me
10 million.
10 million. But it is not even among the top 5 best songs on the album.
On the album, yeah.
You understand? Even some people forget that the song exists. But the man paid. And it's because they signed a contract. You understand? Every party is happy. Oluyimba Bebe Cool means okubaterwa mukolera namukolera. But he paid because they signed a contract. So producers, songwriters should always put into consideration contracts. Because that contract is binding. You understand? If anything happens thereafter, this proof okitegera twasayininga wano bla 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 bla. If a song oba tugenda kufuuka hit kino kyekijja okubaawo oba tetujja kufuuka hit okitegera. Contracts are so essential in this business. Okitegera. If an artist bosses around a producer in studio n'amutiisatiisa sijja kudda oba oyogera kino it is okay. Okitegera. Tulina quality producers abakyaliwo abakola ninga boto jya bamanyira because basinga sente obaki okitegera. They stand by their quality. Jangu ng'omanyi ki kyogenda okola okufuna okitegera. Bebo ba Steve Jean betwogerako ba Benon nti lwakuba kale they diverted to adverts ba producing abulango buli munyo sente okitegera.
No, so kirabye. No omusajja producing iranga Irene Tare. Dick King. David. Eyo music yabivaako.
Okitegera. Ati kati yes, music baba babivaako ne it's just a few abagenze mu Bulango. Sinti bonna badduse mu Bulango. Obulango batono abagendayo. Okitegera. Neera wakyaliwa Pademan. Okitegera. Nti ye tojja muleetera kunywa olugezigezi olwo. Okitegera. Nti ajja kufuna Bobby Wine ajje once in a while nenga amanyi value ye. Okitegera.
Naye asasula.
Musajja
Muganda wange oyo. Simulaba mu kusasula.
Naye oli amanyi
Kyagamba One Love ye yabaddewo.
oli amanyi kikyajja
Nze kasita yampa pike.
One Love na mutima.
So the producer balime kubeera held at ransom because an artist is big ajja kulagira ekyokukola tajja kudda mu studio. No, beera ne quality yo ne standards zo produce good work. Abamanyi good work bajja kujja mu studio.
Yeah, true.
Kiriza obwavu bukulume.
Naye
Because that's why I said, shouldn't there be a price we need to pay if we are to reach certain heights?
But this is the thing, guys. This is what I think. I feel like for such things, just that the producers are not being listened to. They only listen to the artists. And I got a chance to go to Parliament with the Telecom when they were getting, asking people questions about the business, what is Bagambie, Basasula Bubi, I diverge, whatever. Now, guys, you need to, this committee needs to be inclusive of all sectors. And one of the things I feel that can change Abantu Webati is when they are forced, either by law, whereby even if you're going to KFM to take their song, we are not accepting the song unless it has a split sheet attached to it, or a contract that shows total buyout. Because the artists are so big, and it is the same artists that are going to trickle down the investment to the younger ones. All the managers that have made it that are going to trickle down. Today, if Spice Diana is not happy with Roger, he has the money to sign another artist, and we'll be back to square zero. Same thing. So I feel like one of the things that can happen is when the laws or directives, I don't know how you process Sijimanyi as a change agala, but when they're forced to bring your song to radio, it must have a split sheet. It must have metadata ajuzibwa bulungi. Kati eno system gye bagamba Museveni gye yataddemu ssente It is things like that. Ebirina okuyamba okutandika okumainstreaminga ki ebintu nti for example singa nkubuuza ekiryo n'omuwafu olwa Hamani Basudde ani yaluproducinga. You guys have access to radio databases, but this information is not there, right? And it is not just about the money, but it is also that ekitiibwa ekijja n'omuntu okugamba nti oluyimba lwa Stesha Mayanja gundi ye yalukola. You know? Another thing, ekisembayo maliriza, nina concept mutwe gwange muno. Egamba nti one of the things that can help Ugandan music be mainstreamed is what helps the US industry to mainstream is when you have major people that are signing everybody.
Yeah.
Come with $20 billion or whatever it is, that figure. Buy out the entire industry.
Yes.
When the entire industry is channeled or funneled through one gate, things become neat and organized.
Yeah.
Naye bino ebya buli omu ali independent onakoze kiro onakubye essimu olimba ntoluzannya that confusion yonna eggwawo singa we have like 3 companies that own the industry. Actually, but good.
Actually, like with the US, okay, with the West, the major labels are owning, they are owning most of the smaller record labels, but then they trickle down and own the media houses. So like you find Warner Music has like an entire Warner conglomerate that owns like CNN, like basically there are few people that are owning the industry at all levels, from radio to record labels to everything.
And that's how they make, they milk
And that,
everything out of it.
That's how they streamline it. That's how they gatekeep it in a way. Like, yeah, we need that kind. This whole thing of having very many independent artists. Buli omu ne yeekolera kyayagala ate buli omu n'ayitawo nga bw'ayagala. Like it can't work.
Just even conversations, because you see, we're talking about Ugandan music in a Ugandan sense. But me, I look at Uganda as a country that has 45 million people, and then I look at the rest of the world with 8 billion people, right? So, if Jamaica you know what Jamaica, like 5 million, right? Or even less. If Jamaica could sell across the world, Uganda can sell across the world when we set a mindset of export. But we can't set a mindset of export if everybody is independent. Kati gwoba wakafuluma mu universal music. Nga maiga ingira. You get. Maiga bwayingira bad mouthing on. Maiga yakafuluma ne nyingira. Namba ayo muveko namwe mwina kola nangi. You get, so it is so many confusing voices happening at the same time. And we can't even get into conversations of export. Joshua Baraka is struggling because he's alone. You can't. But if they are independent, you don't have the money, you don't have the connections. Big
guy who is now MP to be Big I. Okay, guys, our time is fast spent. We want to close this show from here. It's been heated and quite conversational. People have reviewed quite some very interesting issues coming out of gatekeeping when it comes to Uganda's music industry. I hope the stakeholders who have been watching can pick a thing or two, a leaf or the entire tree, because there's a lot to learn from the things we've shared here. We are going to see you next week with another edition, another topic of the show. And I want to thank the panel and the team behind. There's a huge team, by the way, behind this. Guys, we shall see you next week. Thank you.